The answer, Chad, to moving players is that this is not a very pretty situation for Ball State. At quarterback, we have these 6 who are the only ones on the team that can actually throw a football. Unfortunately, as mentioned, impact dev option Jimmy Loper, only a 54 out of the gates. The good thing is we have Caden Samanza for 3 more years, so we got time to find a quarterback to build around. At running back, it's not great. Again, we've optimized this for guys who can't really catch a football. They're not the fastest in the world, with the exception of Thacker, but basically none of these guys were good enough at blocking to cut it at tight end, were good enough at catching the ball to cut it at wide receiver, or didn't have the defensive abilities to go and play the other side of the ball. Obviously, we'll have a lot of cuts from the running back position this year. Keelan Candidate was another impact dev that we picked up this past year. He is as well, only a 54 overall to start. So, and then Mitch Aguilar, this guy just sucks no matter where the hell we put him. So he's now a 33 running back. But again, training results might save him. We'll see. A handful of fullbacks. We'll see who survives the cut. We're not going to carry fullbacks, but we'll see what's up. The wideout core, at least we have Magwood for another year. Aside from that, we got our work cut out for us, but everybody here can at least run relatively fast outside of Crespo, and can kind of catch a football. That's what we're looking at right now, right? Like, those are the minimum requirements. Tight end core hasn't really changed much. Actually, I don't think anybody moved from tight end. We had Gibbs and Flaherty who were new. The O-line, optimized to have our more agile players at tackle and guard to try to keep up with the speed. We have some decent depth. We did move some defensive players over to the line as well, just because they weren't going to do well defensively either. So the O-line is going to be very dependent on development. We'll be good at tackle at least. With Tayo there for hopefully another 2 years. Defensive end, not great. These are guys who were not good enough at blocking or catching to move to an offensive role, and we're not good enough in coverage to be a linebacker or in the secondary. Yeah, we're hurting in that position. Defensive tackle, same thing, except we had a 290-pound cutoff. So, I mean, these are the big boys. Linebacker, we're actually not that bad in terms of people being able to play some coverage role and then hopefully also being able to get to the quarterback, especially on the outside. Middle linebacker is probably where we're strongest this year on defense, which is, I know what it looks like. Trust me. And then again, some more outside linebackers. Don't really care about the lower overalls. I care about the attributes more. We do only have 5 corners, one of whom is not great. That's a problem heading into next year, big time. The secondary, it's okay. It's okay. D.D. Snyder's kind of holding it down. And then our kicker this year will still be Corville. Elijah Kareem might be able to grow into it. And then we got technically 3 punters on roster, which is a bit of a disaster, but we went for those late strikes, and a lot of them ended up being special teams options. So I don't know what to expect for Season 2. I really don't. But again, we've tried to optimize it. Our coach level's going up again because of our coordinators, which is nice. It's showing us as a 75 overall, which would be nice if that's true. But again, I'm still not allowed. We have 65 points in the bank, and I'm still not allowed to put those on until we get promoted. So that sucks. But the training results, my hope is that somebody who looked like they were going to suck did really well in the off-season training. Doesn't appear to be the case at quarterback, except we do have 4 decent options, which is nice, but we'll see who we have to cut. Running back wise, so Thacker was one of them. There we go. That is why I always optimize people based off of attributes, because you never know what the offseason development will do. This guy was a 58 running back 2 minutes ago. Now he's a 72 because of the offseason training. So that is a nice little turnaround for the former wideout, who is better suited at running back, Isaiah Thacker. So always kind of optimize based on attributes for an off-season and see what happens once you get those training camp results. Highly recommended. It's worth the time investment. Again, we got a couple of fullbacks in the running. Not sure what we're going to do there. These two improved a decent amount. Wideouts. I mean, it's not the worst receiver core we've ever had. Fortunately, Iggy Clark didn't really improve at all. Not the worst core we've ever had. Tight ends. Maximus Webster looking good. We got a couple decent options there. On the O-line, Royster, let's go. Dude, he was a 50-something, and he might have even been in the 40s, and he went up to a 72 due to off-season training. We got him to adapt to that position. Let's fucking go. That's a huge boost for this team in terms of our O-line depth. That's awesome. Left guard. No, well, actually, Luter. Luter was like a 40, 50, and now he's a 68, so he also got better, but he is a senior. You know, he is only around for one more year. Alawati, decent improvement. Right guard, nothing too crazy. Right tackle, Austin Payton, another defender to O-line convert. He's up to a 69. That's awesome. That is a nice little trick you can pull with this game. Frazier going to be looking all right. Okay, so good. We did get some improvements on the D-line. Thank God. Thank God. We might actually have somebody to work with on the defensive line. And then linebacker. Or some of these guys moved from safety over to linebacker or defensive end. And we're looking okay there depth-wise. Down the middle, we look great. And right side, we're also looking pretty good. Including Eccles, who improved a decent amount. 5 corners that we have, all looking pretty good. Sutton, big improvement. Holy shit. That's a massive... Wasn't he a 60? This was the guy that was a 60. He's a 77. In one offseason, that's outrageous. And then safeties. Ron Wright looking like he'll probably be the starter. And then Schneider on the other side. Gil Judge improved a decent amount. Orville's a 70. Homer's a 70. Honestly, that was fantastic. In terms of that development there, that was phenomenal. Wow. I wasn't sure how we do this year, but now all of a sudden it's like, shit, maybe we could get promoted. Maybe we could. Question is, how many players do we have to cut? And the answer is 12. That's not the worst. That's not the worst. So we'll start at quarterback. Aiden Leffler, junior, behind multiple other juniors. There's no way he's going to play. Got Aiden Leffler. Here's the big option. Kyle Kelly. I think before I had moved him to running back, but again, he was probably best suited here. I don't want him competing with Caden Simonza to be the starter. Simonza's just as good. Kelly's a year older. We can keep these two juniors around as backups. It's either Kelly goes or Colin Blazic goes. And we only have Kelly for one more year. Anyway, Blazic we'd have for 2. Kyle Kelly's got to go. It just makes too much sense for our depth now and moving forward. So Kelly's going to go. Running backs. Firestone. Junior. 5 points worse than Dalvin Thomas. Firestone's out. As is the senior Xavier Simpson. Just makes too much sense. And then all these other running backs, Jesus Christ. We'll leave them for now. Fullbacks. The lowest rated is the senior, AJ Taylor, so he is out. Fox was a transfer. Obviously, we don't want to carry 3 options this year. I think it's going to be JT Branch. We'll play Earlwine for the year. So he was already redshirt, and then Fox will sit out this year, but then play next year. So JT Branch, you are gone. You could argue sit out Earlwine or just cut Earlwine as well. Wideouts. Iggy Clark, Jr., lower rated than some of the sophomores, so Iggy's out. Honestly, Nick Munson as well. Another junior who's barely better than Kendrick Claiborne, who we can't sit out this year. We'll get rid of him. Nobody at tight end. At tackle, no one we necessarily have to get rid of. Looter, you did improve well, buddy, but we're going to move on from you. We could technically get rid of Chris Hood as well. Yeah. Sorry to Chris Hood, but you're just never... Well, I mean, his agility went up. I'll see if I can keep him. Defensive end, I don't think we have the depth to really cut anybody on the defensive side. Like, all these cuts have to come from the offensive side. Fortunately, we have too many frickin' special teams players that kind of screwed me over. You know what, because of that, let's get rid of Erlewine. Fox will just play. Running back-wise, we could technically get rid of Thomas and Vernon. And we will, actually, just to be the final two cuts, because we're pretty good at running back moving forward. So, decent. Decent job. A couple of players I didn't necessarily want to get rid of, but that's how it works. That does bring us, though, to the promotions, relegations from this past year. We start off at independent status. And the first team going up was Jacksonville State to Conference USA for mid-10. And Troy, we're going down for the New Mexico Lobos. So, teams that we will be in this particular conference with next year. Down mid-Tennessee State. And, of course, fixing it up on my side here really quickly, just so we do not lose track of anything as we move on. Gonna drop Troy down. For Conference USA, FIU won the conference title, so they go to the MAC for South Bama. In the Conference USA tier, I am actually going to turn off divisions to see if I can still get it to work. It might still work. Keep them with the extra couple of teams. I do think it still works because it's the 10 conference games that helps. Yeah, that should be fine. So again, South Bama down for FIU. And then promoted from the MAC is App State. They head to the Sun Belt for UNLV. Congrats to App State. Drop down old UNLV. From the Sun Belt, champions last year were Liberty. They're heading to the American for the Duke Blue Devils. Tough draw for Duke to get relegated out of that conference. But again, it is a pretty... Every conference right now is competitive. We sorted it by overall, so... Kansas State won the American last year. They head to the Mountain West to replace Wake Forest. K-State up and Wake Forest down. Champions of the Mountain West, still can't believe it. It was Rutgers. They head to the Pac-12 to replace Northwestern. So an upgrade in terms of conference prestige for Rutgers. Now tier 5 of 11. Good for them. Good for them. Champions of the Pac-12 were the Purdue Boilermakers. They head to the ACC to replace TCU. Are there enough random letters in there for you yet? How about some sweet cowbell? Champions of the ACC were NC State. They head to the Big 12 to replace Washington. So NC State up and Washington go down. Promoted from the Big 12, the Rebels, Ole Miss, head to the Big 10. Replace the Gamecocks of South Carolina. South Kakalaki. And then, last but not least, champions of the Big 10 moving up. The Utah Utes will be replacing Clemson in the top tier. So Utah up to that top tier. to replace the Clemson Tigers. There we go. Shout out to Utah. They kind of stick out like a sore thumb. But shout out to Utah. There we go. Done and done. Let's see what's in store for us next. I have to sort out all the red shirts and stuff like that. And they're looking okay. Showing up as a 75 is pretty good. Obviously, we'll get to the custom schedule shortly. We'll get to renaming some players as well. I do want to go through the red shirts this year. We're going to be aggressive in red shirting, as we always are. So, quarterback, Jimmy Loper sits out the year. Running backs, the freshman candidate, Bleu, and Aguilar. Granted, that won't be their names for too much longer. Sean Fox plays at fullback. We'll sit the 3 new wideouts. Tight ends, sit the freshman. Good lord, sit all of those centers. Well, right guards will be out. Couple of right tackles. Defensive end, Eric Crespo can sit out. Jamison Steven. Oh, man. Our lack of depth on defense is a big, big problem here. Ooh, it's a big problem. What will the roster look like this year, then? If we're sitting out all of our freshmen, I need to know who the fastest player on the team is. Also with good change of direction, agility, and such. Best of the bunch, most well-rounded, is TJ Horton. TJ Horton and Magwood. We noted. So, with our depth chart, then, for Season 2, and Samanza is now just outright the guy. Quick and easy. Running backs, Horton, Thacker. Honestly, Thacker, he's faster, he's got better awareness. I think he's going to be the starter over Horton. Fullbacks, Roseole if needed. 70 in there. For the wideouts, bump up Presley over Gilly. And leave it at that. Magwood's the number 1. Tight ends. Nothing really to change. For the offensive line, I do not like how it resorts people. It always plays right guard at left guard, and yada yada. It's a pain in the ass. I have people on certain sides for a reason, game. So let's get those left tackles in there. Of which there are a fair amount. A much higher awareness for Freeman. Do we know why it does that? I do not. I do not. I don't know if that's somehow an intentional thing. I have no idea why that happens. Almost 85 awareness for Chris Hood. I mean, you're worse in other ways, but man, we love that awareness as a general modifier. Think of it like poise in hockey, except more effective. So Al Awadi can start at center. Right guards. Right guard to play. We will go with Meter over Redfield. Causing me frustration every offseason. It's like, what if we flipped all the positions? It's weird, though, because it only happens for the O-line. At least to this severity. But, of course, that makes it just a big enough pain in the ass. Oh, I guess it does it for defensive ends, too. Who knew? Well, there you go. Does it for defensive end as well. So, left side does the D and linebacker. Yeah, now that you mention that, maybe it does happen. More than I realized. See if it did it for my linebackers as well. Well, let's see. Frazier, Hughes if needed. Defensive tackle. Certainly Reichert's better, but we got plenty of DTs in there. Actually, really quickly. Left side, 10 overall point gap. Right side, he was the only one. Defensive tackle, we'll go with Ronnie Sherrod over Hughes. Honestly, we're going to go with Flowers as well. Works. Linebacker. Didn't flip linebacker at least this time, but I also might not have enough linebackers available, in fairness, so we won't quite give the game credit for that. Yeah, Jack Beebe is definitely the guy there. Middle linebackers. Put Dillard as the number 1. And then right side. Johnson in there. There's another one. It was Ethan Evers. Works. Cody Smith will end up being the starter there. He's a little bit slow, but can play relatively well. And then for the corners, we let's make that little swap right there. Actually, Sutton awareness still lets him down a little bit. For the safeties, nothing to change. Strong safety, nothing to change. Kicker, it's got Corville, Christ, Carson Holmer. If it wasn't for the lack of accuracy, he'd fit well. But really, are 5 accuracy points that much worse if it means having the power of Holmer? Accuracy is pretty important, but I think Carson Holmer's going to be the kicker and the punter this year. Christ. Kick return. We talked about it being Magwood and Horton. Primarily be Horton. Apparently disagrees with that. Kickoffs. Dude, it's going to be the year of Carson Holmer. Long snapper. That's fine. Third down backs. That can just go off a natural rating. That's fine. Power backs. Not really our specialty at the moment. Slot receiver. Never really going to want Magwood in there. But Bowick can definitely go. That's the number 1. Rushing left end. Oh, we'll just go off of overall rating. That's fine. I think we have, I mean, granted, no one on this team is so good that it's like, no, he must play this position. It's like, no, we can mess around. Mess around and try to be, try to showcase some sort of depth. Defensive tackle there. Linebacker, that's fine. Nothing to change. Get Dillard in, but BB's perfect. And then corners. Baldwin as that number 1. Sutton in there. Cool. So I do think we could actually have a pretty solid year this year. Biggest question before we get to chat getting involved in customization is the prospect list this year. And perhaps more importantly is team needs. What are we looking at this year? We do start off with needing a quarterback. Outside of that, we need 1 member of the offensive line. So far, so good. And then defense is where it falls off. We need 4 defensive linemen. Apparently, I need 8 linebackers. And 8 members of the secondary. So, for as much as the offense was fine, the defense is not. Okay. So, if we look at 1-star prospects, obviously, defense has to be the big focus this year. Let's look for athletes. We didn't have any athletes last year. We still won't have any athletes this year. Kicker and punter, we just cannot focus on. So at safety, we get 3 guys. Morris, Aragon, and Kruger. We also get Nicholson, Arnett, Tim Fogg, Lorenzo Sharp, and Keelan Vincent. And then corners, quite a few as well. Tim Yeast, Andre Song, Kevin Bruschke. That's why they got Bruschke in the name pool. Teddy's black son, Kevin. Also got Quincy Breeze. And then we need a crap load of linebackers. Let's be honest, we're not going to be able to really... Holy, outside linebackers. Jesus Christ. I said we weren't really going to be able to, like, specify who we wanted to look for here and that we're pretty much going to have to send offers to everybody. That's still probably the case. Holy hell, dude, there's so many defensive players this year, and that's awesome. Because we need as many opportunities as we can get. So let's take a look then. I mean, this is our week to scout. Is there anybody just so abysmal that it does not make sense to scout them at all? Actually, even then, I need to take a look at the overview and see if there's anyone that we don't have a realistic shot for. And even then, that's not the case. Honestly, there might be too many people available, as absurd as that sounds. This guy is a junior JUCO. Let's get him off the list. Was there anybody else that I missed that happened to be a JUCO? No. Outside linebacker. Wow. This is going to be interesting. I have like too many players. I gotta waste points on scouting. We have it. This is going to be weird with how many players we need. That's 3. I mean, it's definitely more corners than what we need, but I don't think I'm going to be able to fully utilize these points because I just need to get who we need to get. Linebackers, of course, can count as defensive linemen, too. Yeah, literally, I mean, let's go and offer every single person here a scholarship. And then we'll just start scouting dudes out just to know, like, oh, okay, if we have to choose between one or the other, this guy's better than that guy. But just with the way the team needs worked out this year, we just got to pretty much go for everybody here. Gotta happen. Justin with a Y. Your parents didn't like you, Justin. Oh, let's see. Jean Paré. Jay Bajan. Olszewski. Hey, we're getting a bunch of former Patriot surnames in here. Aqib Talib. All right. On Vine, Stephen Kesey. There we go. All right. Well, who can we waste points on? Let's sort by interest. D'Angelo Damania. As a linebacker, you're pretty shit. That block shedding's rough. You can't play zone. Jean Paré. He's also pretty bad. Grant Burden. You are also pretty bad. Bradley Waiters. Hey, we get our first gem of the bunch. In Bradley Waiters. He's fast, he can tackle, he can't play man or zone at all. He's a pure edge linebacker, but he's alright, actually. How about Melvin Aragon? 86 acceleration, can't tackle worth a damn. He's a safety, though. Cortez Bouye. Still no other gem. Alan McGinn. Okay, our second gem, Alan McGinn. As a linebacker, I can kind of see that the block shedding's pretty shit. 47 awareness also isn't great, but hey, maybe. Maybe, just maybe it'll work out. We got a bust in Moses Howard. About Ryan Morris out of Canton. You're going home, Ryan. You're going home. And then Teddy Kruger. Nothing else we can do. Okay. Not a bad way to spend our first bit of time recruiting. We need a lot of people. There's a lot to do. But you know, we're looking okay. I mean, I don't know. I can check conference standings. Hold on. How do we look compared to the rest of our conference? 76, 77, 75. I mean, we're in the middle. We're not in the high end with overall. We're in the middle. We are right there in the running. Not exactly underdogs of this tier for this season, but it is obviously a very, very competitive conference, or lack thereof.